So my name is Mишelь Kормan. I'm a Slovakian-born artist. I live in Paris for 13 years now. I'm a visual artist, mostly interested, of course, in what we call superflat painting. I invented my style, my own style of oil paint mixed with graphic art maybe 10 years ago. And I'm being a professional artist since 2016, living off my art fully. I do mostly work with gardens and flowers. And of course, this is connected to my childhood because as a child, I suffered from a heavy allergies. So it was really impossible for me to go out, to go to our family garden. I could possibly watch only the nature out through the window. So I stayed home a lot. I did crosswords with my grandma and I listened to music or read books, but it was very difficult for me to go out actually and enjoy myself with other kids. So my school was maybe like 50 or 60 meters from our house. So I could go to school, of course, but something like trips to the nature, it was really very difficult. And as a child, I suffered a little bit because I felt a little bit disconnected, from what other kids can experience. So then I went through experimental Russian treatment for 10 years and it worked. So now I can really fully enjoy myself, go out. I love nature, I love going out, I love going to the parks, woods, and I love gardens and flowers. I got plenty of flowers in my apartment. Before it was impossible to have just a simple bouquet of flowers inside of the room where I was sitting or living. Even a green plant, actually, it was not possible. So now I'm really trying to catch up with all what I missed as a child. And I think that this subject of my painting, flowers, plants, nature, gardens especially, this is something that, I missed as a child. So I'm being attracted to it naturally in some way. And of course, I love their color. I love everything that's living, actually, without too much of a movement, of course. So I think also this is linked to my childhood because when I couldn't go out, I was staying inside. I did some coloring books. This was my favorite activity as a child, coloring books. So this also is linked to my technique because my technique is something like coloring book. It's super flat, it's stroke by stroke, a very neat, very precise painting. And I also find this meditative aspect back to my childhood in these activities actually. It's not like escapism, but it's something that you actually close yourself into because you cannot go out, you cannot have active life, you cannot go out and play with a ball, So this was something I liked and it probably stayed. So now in my adulthood, to get back inside to my apartment from a crowded city and from a very busy life, I always enjoy myself. My first solo show was in Brussels, 2009. I had two exhibitions in Slovakia before. It was a student exhibition, it was not a professional exhibition. So yes, I had my first solo exhibition as a student at the age of 17. And then my first professional solo show, 2009. So I was 21. Oh, I was super excited, of course, because what is important to me when I display and I show my work somewhere is the reaction of the people. So what I actually do is I just hang my painting somewhere. This, of course, is a whole process of making the exposition and what to choose as a work, appropriate work, give it a story. You, of course, want some either narrative element in it or a link or something as a thread you can travel along. So you propose to people a kind of a journey or voyage, if you want to, so they can travel through your painting. And this is something that I was really interested in. And I was very curious about how these people will react, you know, because you are creating a story only with pictures. There are no words besides titles. So what I do actually at the exhibition, I mostly just watch people react. I was super nervous at the opening of my first solo show, but it was good. I like exchanging ideas with people, and they of course bring me new ideas, and it's always very lovely to talk to people and learn something from them about your work, how they perceive it. And yeah, this is something very interesting to me, and this is actually something I keep on mind since my first exhibition, and I always do that. I think every person is creative. It starts in the morning. You wake up in the morning and you have to put your clothes on, and you just combine them in a certain way. So this already is very creative. Making your own breakfast, this is something that is creative. So yeah, everybody has got creativity, of course. As a child, we are all super creative. I think that everybody as a kid loved drawing lessons or working with paper, or I don't know, glue or some paste to make some small sculptures or something like that. And to me, at least, it was the case. And what was the most interesting to me was not recreating the objects, but recreating the experience. Like I remember when I was a child, my mom always proposed us when we were drawing together with my younger brother, draw me a trip, or draw me love, or show me how would friendship look on the paper. So it was more about the experience actually you have in life than about the object, like draw me a sun, or draw me a house, or draw me a dog. And I think that people, and nowadays especially, they need this kind of expression. And we see it through social media. Almost everybody has got Facebook or Instagram, and you try to be as creative as you can on those medias too. So yeah, everybody is creative. I must agree with that, and I'm very happy that everybody is creative, because this is what makes us interesting people to share our experience together, and nobody actually is an isolated island. So I think, yeah, we sometimes, or maybe even most of the time, connect with the others through our creativity, through language or body language, or our attitudes, or even social media. I mean, even in the virtual space, we try to connect with the others through our creativity. So color for me is three things. Is an experience of a light, because without light there are no colors. Secondly, color to me is a kind of a voyage. So I always travel through color. It's not only the visual aspect of the color, but really what it represents in the world. Like you can, I don't know, watch or look at the painting of Yves Klein, which is completely blue, it's just a blue surface, but you suddenly get completely lost in this blue surface, very particular blue hue, and you start to travel in your mind, and either you feel comfortable or not comfortable or doubtful, and there is a whole range of emotion, but it never is a one single emotion. It's not something static. It really is like a process of all these things. So for me, it really is like traveling through. So it's a kind of experience. Yeah. And thirdly, color to me is joy. It's just a pure joy. I can't imagine the world without colors. It's just too difficult for me. Black and white is a universe I do not really enjoy. So yes, more there are colors, more I'm happy. So really joy. Actually, I sold my first painting when I was 14. It was a copy of Van Gogh's Sunflowers. It was super bad, but still somebody liked it. So I was very happy to be able to make my own money at the age of 14. But it was very occasional. As a student, you do not sell much. Then I happened to sell a little bit more by the age of 22, but I still had to keep a job because it was not enough. And now I live of my art since 5 years approximately, and it's the only job I do. Of course, I share my experience with students once a week. I teach 3 hours at university, or I do projects with brands, of course, but it is always through my art. So it is your experience as an artist, or you sell the IP through brands, or you collaborate on some projects, or you do book covers or book illustration, but it still is like linked to your art and your creativity. So I'm able to live of my art since 5 years ago, 2015, 16, something like that. Every day, every single painting you do, every new project you start, every new strategy you are putting on the table with your management or with people you work with, it's a challenge, and you are in a constant movement, and you have to change constantly. So I think, and this is what is interesting also about our career, our job, is that it's still changing. You are never sure of anything. You have to try to be the best, of course, but not only as an artist doing things, but also you have to understand how the whole industry works. So you are a part of it. You have to sell your works, and of course you want to make more money with every painting. So for that you need to put on a strategy, and this is something that is just as clear as a day. So as soon as there is a strategy, you have to work with people, and more people you work with, more difficult the relationship get. And I mean, it's very rich, but it's a good experience because every day is a new experience. So it is very challenging every day. It actually is more challenging now than before, because when you make no money, you actually have to have another job. So you are not putting as much energy into your art as when you are completely and fully depending on what you do. So yeah, the challenges are just enormous. I started to paint very young, so I think that transformation of my art is linked to the transformation of my personality as a human being that evolves with time, and with that change with time, of course. Then yes, when it works, you want to know how it works the other way around. So how the professional aspect of my work changed my personality. Yes, it did. It did. I must admit it. You just have to protect yourself from the public world and keep the private world, apart. So the two of them are really completely separate. You have to preserve your time to be creative, not only doing time, but also thinking time. And this is something that is fully yours, and it has to be fully yours, because otherwise your art is not your art anymore. And then also on a professional basis, is as a relationship with the others and with the industry. Of course, you have to be, you still can be kind, and I still hope that I'm a kind of person, but you have to be tough. You have to be tough when it comes to negotiation and money, and I have to learn that, and it was very difficult for me to be to create a shield around me, that will protect me actually, and that will help me evolve as an artist too. Because if you don't make money, you will just, leave it be, you know. So if you want to make money and continue, and you want to really evolve as an artist in a professional world, you have to negotiate with big people, and these big people, they will challenge you all the time, and it will be like, prove us that you are the right person. We give space for exhibition. Prove us that you are a good kind of person. We can trust with some kind of energy we are investing in your project, or prove us that you are a reliable person when I do associate my name with yours. So all this is negotiation. It's a permanent negotiation, and for that you really have to have a strong bones. So yeah, it changed me, of course, it did, but it's an experience. I use a lot of patterns and motifs I paint on my pictures. There are some favorite ones, of course, I repeat very often. I would say they come as an inspiration for different cultures. I always was very curious as a kid, as a teenager, about cultures, different cultures of people around the world. I travel a lot. So yeah, there is this hexagonal thing that Japanese call turtle shell, or turtle shield, I believe. I'm not sure of the term they use exactly, but it's like hexagon with some kind of point in the middle, and there is no real meaning to it when it comes to my art, but I always associate it with something oriental, something mystic. I very often use triangles. The triangles, they are just an expression of how we are as a human linked to nature and to spiritual part. So there are triangles in it. I use some strokes. I really like to use some strokes and giving some rhythm to a stroke, but this mostly expresses musicality and rhythm in my painting. Sometimes I use crosses too, or rounds. They are linked to spirituality too. And when it comes to the formal symbols, like the use of flowers or birds, when there is a bird in my painting, it means that I was really very, very happy when I was doing that painting. So bird always means happiness, but it's a personal happiness. It doesn't have to be a story in a painting. It's just that I felt really very happy when I was doing that painting. There are some flowers, very simplified ones. They express certain things in my paintings, but they are really super simplified. Like, you cannot tell what kind of flower it is, but I use them from time to time, and this also is connected to musicality and contrast. So like contrast with of the inner world with the outside world. So it is about symbols, but they are, I don't know if they are really important for people to see, because I always try to put them in the colors. They are quite agreeable to the eye. They are lovely and pleasant. But the story behind is that, yes, I use some patterns. They are very proper to what I feel and how I perceive the world around me, for sure. I did not really choose Paris, actually. Well, the story behind goes that I think that I was chosen by Paris. I lived in Brussels, and I got a little bit stuck in Brussels on the different levels, professional, personal, emotional level, and I was looking as a sort of escapism where to go. And then the opportunity came, Paris, and I just decided to give it a try. I didn't like it at all. To be honest, I didn't like Paris at all when I moved in. First year was quite difficult for me, but sometimes, every time I wanted to go away, Paris just called me back. like new opportunity, new project, something new, and I decided to stay. And then it changed very quickly, and now it's the best city. I mean, I'm in love with my city. I love Paris so much. It's been 13 years I lived there. I never lived as much and as long time in any other place in the world that I do in Paris. I mean, I've been living in Paris for the last 13 years, and it's an amazing experience. I love the city. It's very inspiring environment to me. Challenging, but inspiring too. My first trip and only trip except this one to Moscow was 2009, and I immediately was charmed by the city. It was approximately the same period, mid-October, end of October, so all the foliage of the trees was golden. It was so beautiful, and there was this smell in the air. It was very it smelled like autumn. I don't know how to express it, but it was like a memory from my childhood, because in autumn, when there was no pollen anymore, I could go out. So autumn really was my favorite season of a year, and then winter, because in the winter you can go out. And I arrived to Moscow, and it's completely different from Paris, of course. And I came here in the city. I was staying in Hotel Pekin Mayakovskaya, and when I get out of the cab, I immediately felt this something in the air, and I associated it with the perfume of the autumn I could have in Slovakia, because actually the landscape is quite similar, and I love it. I was charmed, and I visited Kremlin at that time. It was very nice. It was so impressive, and I think that one of the most beautiful architectural ensembles in the world, like it's probably the Red Square. Yeah, I really love that place. I just keep going there. And my favorite place at that time was Alexandrovsky Sad too. So this time we are exhibiting in Madeira, so it's right next to Alexandrovsky Sad, which is beautiful. I don't think that the city changed as much in the center, because of course it's all preserved as a historical monument. So there are not extreme changes in a center. Then around the city, of course, when you take a cab, you can see so many changes. But I cannot notice them really, because it was my first visit as a tourist. Then now I'm working here. I'm here for 10 days. So you cannot really notice how the city evolves. You only see like 2 points in a time, and they are not connected. But what I feel is that, I actually felt that at that time too, that the Russian people are very curious and very open about things. This is amazing. I don't feel that, at least when it comes to my encounters with Muscovites or with Russian, is that they are never refusing the proposal you give them as a person. I'm not talking about business, but as a person, when you approach somebody, so you propose them your personality, and nobody ever rejected that. So I find that they are super cool, and I think that the attitude didn't change much of the people. They are really very warm. I think when you are warm with them and you show that you are interested, truly interested in them, they are super interested in you too, which is a beautiful deal actually, because you can learn things, you can share things about yourself, but you can also learn things from the others about yourself. So I really like that. So to me, as big differences, I don't see any really big differences. When it comes to a city, of course, there are new buildings, but people know they are still as beautiful as I found them 12 years ago.